everybody, two quick things. First of all, regarding my video schedule, I was hoping that I'd be able to do these Ninjago videos bi-weekly, but it looks like that's not going to be happening. So, we'll probably be looking at more of a monthly type deal for the Ninjago videos. I know, it's sad, but I've got a life too, you know. Second thing is, I recently had the pleasure of helping out a very dear friend of mine with his book that he has just published. Tomorrow's Yesterdays by Matt Richardson. I may or may not have drawn the chapter headers for his book, so that's really, really cool. It is an awesome story about teenagers and time travel and saving the world and secret organizations, and it's just awesome. So if you're interested in that, please check it out. I have a link in the description. If you're feeling generous, go and support him in that. And without further ado, here is the video. Previously on Legends of Ninjago. Ever since he was about 8 years old, he discovered that he could control Earth. It was like there was someone watching him.
Hello, Cole.
Do I know you?
I should think not. Come, sit. You must be tired after your arduous journey.
How do you know my name? Are you one of my dad's friends?
No.
Then who are you?
Perhaps that is the question for me to ask.
Cole was beginning to get an uneasy feeling in his stomach and felt a strange tingling sensation near the back of his head. The more the old man dodged his questions, the more acute the feelings became.
Tell me, Cole, why do you climb the mountain?
I don't know. I just like it. It clears my head, I guess.
What do you have to clear your head of?
Cole didn't really want to talk about it, especially with a stranger. But as the seconds wore on, that uneasy feeling in the pit of his stomach began to disappear, leaving only the tingling sensation. There was something about this man that made Cole want to trust him. Maybe it was his friendly smile or his laid-back nature, he couldn't tell.
I'm kind of in a situation. My dad, he has me enrolled at the Marty Oppenheimer, but honestly, performing is the last thing I want to do. I don't know. Maybe my dad wouldn't have done it if... You see, I just lost someone. My dad should be sad or angry or something, but he just acts like it never happened. He spends all of his time in this musical group and sends me off to boarding school hoping that I'll do the same. With her gone, it's just been hard. I don't really have anyone to talk to about it. I've thought about joining the Imperial Army, you know. At least out there I'd be useful, but...
What is holding you back from enlisting?
I don't know. Maybe I'm afraid of what my dad will say.
There was a stretch of silence between the two. Wu looked up at Cole with sad, knowing eyes.
Grief is a strange and terrible thing, which can take many forms. Some sing and dance, others climb mountains.
Why did you climb the mountain?
To find you, Cole. There's another reason why you won't join the army, isn't there? Something makes you feel different from other people. Makes you feel out of place.
I should get going. It's getting late.
You cannot run from destiny, Cole. There is still much you do not know, and much you have yet to learn about yourself. I've heard tell of a young boy who can move rock without touching it, command stone without speaking a word. You have a very special gift indeed.
Look, whatever you've heard, it's not true. I mean...
Cole, I understand your fear, but there is no need for it. My name is Master Wu, military advisor of the Imperial Army.
Master Wu? I'm so sorry. I didn't recognize you.
There is no need for apologies, Cole. I am in great need of you and your special abilities if you're still interested in joining the war.
Yes, sir, I am.
Cole wasn't entirely sure what was happening, but if the Master Wu offers you a job, you take it. He had heard stories of this man who had fought in wars before Cole was born and vanquished evil countless times. He was a military genius and had at one time been the advisor of the Emperor. There was also a lot of mystery surrounding him. No one knew where he came from or from what family he hailed.
It is of the utmost importance that you do not tell anyone of this meeting. I have already negotiated with your headmaster, and you have his full permission to drop out of your studies. I look forward to our next meeting, young Cole.
You're leaving?
There is much to be done, and unfortunately very little time to do it. Follow the instructions on the scroll. Cole, there is greatness within you, but also much turmoil. Be wise in the coming months and listen to your elders, or you may find the turmoil overpowering.
Wu gave him a warm smile, then picked up his tea kettle and walked out of light of the campfire until the shadows had swallowed him entirely. Cole was left standing on the peak of a mountain with a scroll in his hand and excitement in his heart. He blinked and had to pinch himself to make sure he wasn't dreaming. The Master Wu had just invited him to join a special military operation. But how had he known about his powers? How had that old man climbed the mountain? Surely he was far too feeble to walk all the way on his own. The only piece of new information he had was in the scroll still resting in his hand. He ripped it open and held it up to the firelight, and in very professional writing it said, "Cole Beckett, I'm sure you must have many questions, all of which I will answer in time. But for now, you must rely on faith. Go to the Yamadera Monastery in the Wayward Mountains outside of Ninjago City. There you will meet the woman Anjing Haruto, who is a trusted ally of mine. Await further instructions." Cole breathed in deeply, and a smile spread across his face. This was the opportunity of a lifetime, and there was no way he was wasting another second just sitting around. He stashed the scroll in his front pant pocket and began scrambling down the mountain. When he was near the end, his excitement got the better of him, and he reached out his hand, summoning a slab of stone to appear beneath him, and it carried him quickly to the ground. Thankfully, no one was around to see this. He sprinted all the way back to his dorm room and nearly gave his roommate a heart attack when he bolted through the door like a maniac. Without a second's thought, he whipped out his trunk and started packing his clothes and other items. He paid no attention to the many questions his roommate was pelting him with, and opened his clunky laptop to buy a ticket for the train heading to Ninjago City the next morning. This was it. No turning back. He hit purchase and turned off the computer. Now all that was left to do was get a good night's sleep. Cole flopped onto the top bunk and relaxed. Tomorrow would be his last morning in this smelly dorm building. No more dance lessons, no more nagging, no more awkward social engagements. But what would his father say? Did he already know? Cole was 18, so technically he didn't need his father's approval, but still, he had barely thought this through. To be fair, it had happened so fast, but now that he had a moment to think, all sorts of new questions hit him. How long would he be away for? What kind of military operation did Wu have in mind that would need his powers? And then there was the whole cornucopia of questions revolving around one thing in particular. How did he know about Cole's powers? He drifted off into an uneasy sleep filled with vague and tense dreams about nothing, and when the sun rose the next morning, he still didn't feel much better. There was excitement in his heart, but there was also a hole forming in his chest, filled with unsettling feelings of betrayal and anxiety. He was sure to be extra quiet as he crept out of bed early that morning and grabbed his packed suitcase and backpack. The walk from the school grounds to the train station was probably the most satisfying walk he had gone on for months. And as he boarded the train, for the first time in his life, he felt truly free. The Ninjago countryside rushed past in a blur of yellow greens and sunrise blues. Cole used his time on the train to look up directions to the Yamadera Monastery on his laptop, and to also find a place in Ninjago City to grab some breakfast. He was delighted when he found a Chen's Noodle House, his favorite fast food restaurant, just a block away from the train station. For a moment, he looked out the window at the world beyond, when suddenly, out from behind the lush green trees of the forest, sprang the blinding silver skyscrapers of Ninjago City's skyline. Cole leaned forward in his seat as the city neared closer and closer. It was by far the biggest city in Ninjago, and definitely the biggest city Cole had ever been to before. He marveled at all the buildings and impossibly busy streets, then nearly got lost in the huge train station after the train had dropped him off in the big city. There was no time to enjoy any of it, though. He wolfed on an omelet at Chen's and then started his trek into the mountains. He clumsily barreled through the crowded streets until he made it to a bus that would take him to a large park outside the city, which connected to an information office outside of the mountain trails. He grabbed a map before starting on the dirt path, but got a little confused when he saw that on the map it said that the area around the monastery was off limits to civilians. He held his breath as he ventured toward the building anyway, hoping that Wu's invitation would save him from any sort of punishment for trespassing. The temple was near the highest part of the mountains, surrounded by lush forest greenery. There were many, many rooms and smaller buildings connected to the main building, all red and all inside a large crimson wall. The only way in was through a pair of enormous wooden doors. By the time Cole reached them, he was thoroughly out of breath, having lugged his backpack and suitcase up with him. He looked up to an old sign that had been placed over the big red gate and read, "As iron sharpens iron, brother sharpens brother."